Hey, it's your boy, Sergeant Hooked on Heroes, here with another review slash recap of Kamen Geats, this time episode 29. This week's episode got pretty intense. Definitely raised the stakes, lots of nice revelations, but we'll get into the details here. Little quick thing before I end the episode. For content this week, clearly this review and King Oger episode 5. I also plan on clearly the podcast tonight as I'm recording this on Friday will be episode 26, which will be me, Frankie, and our guest Christian Antoine talking about how heroics are presented in Tokusatsu, and then also each of our favorite first episodes in Tokusatsu, maybe Power Rangers, Rider, Sentai, whatever. So definitely subscribe there. You can check the link below in the description to subscribe to the Henshins and Homies podcast channel. I'm having a blast with that, making lots of good memories, jokes, and just having an amazing time with people. So, yeah, just wanted to let you guys know about all that. But anyway, so episode 29 of Geats was actually pretty good. I actually liked it. So the way it's set up is it's a Matador game, and we start off the episode with Keiwa and Ace, and they're talking to each other about how it's Neon's birthday, right? And Keiwa's trying to find her a present, and blah, 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 and Ace is like, well, I don't really know if she really needs anything because, you know, what does the girl that gets everything she wants really need? You know what I mean? Like, get her something small because she can get whatever she wants otherwise. And Kayla's like, you seem kind of like, I guess. And, like, clearly they're still, I think, trying to go towards the way of, like, him having a thing for her, I guess, which is fine. And I think it'll work. There's a lot more tension between him and Ace, honestly, in my opinion. But they're talking for a while, and then he looks outside and he sees a Jamato running around, being a fool. And he's like, oh, I got to stop him. He runs out there. Runs after the Jamato, instantly goes after him, and then all of a sudden, an Ace is behind him, chasing him too, and a force field comes up and stops him from getting in. One of the Jamato, field things, right? Jamato area things. And we start up the next part of the game, which is a Matador game. They're fighting this bull fighting type Jamato, and they have to defeat it. And we see, actually, right before this, it's best out of 3, right? So it's Nago, Tycoon, and clearly Geats. What really cool is that we see before this Archimetal at like a dig site somewhere, and he digs up an old ID core and resurrects basically a Jamato that isn't based off of a chess piece. It's a dinosaur-themed Jamato, which begs the question, I guess they've been around for a while. Yeah, have they been around for a long time? And also, did that one win its respective, JGP or whatever, or DGP or whatever? It's really interesting to think about that. It's a completely different setup because most of the Jamato we've seen are like Rook, King, Pawn, blah, 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 all that kind of stuff. So to see one that's not based off that normal naming convention is really unique. Not that he doesn't get his ass completely handed to him on a platter later by Ace, but we'll get there. So it's Neon's birthday, and she's pretty excited about it. She's on her little YouTube channel, like, I'm so excited to see your guys' comments, blah, blah, blah. Thank you guys for your support. And she ends up afterwards looking like she's really sad about it. And Ace and Kayla don't really know why. And she's kind of not really giving a whole lot. And we know, like, before this, with the revelation that happened in this episode, with the revelations that we get later in this episode, we know previous episodes, her father revealed, or actually Niram revealed, that her father had somehow gotten a wish to create her in some way. We just don't know the circumstances. So she talks about how her birthday is always bittersweet because it's nice because it's a birthday, but it reminds her of when she was young, when she was about 11, and she was kidnapped. And she was eventually returned to her family, but it was just kind of a dark time, blah, blah, blah. And so there's always a lot of, like, hesitation and probably some angst and whatever, a lot of mixed feelings with her birthday. We also get some moments with her and Kyun. She finally realizes who Kyun is, that he's her supporter and blah, blah, blah. And he definitely takes the approach of like the, lurker in the chat of like the Twitch chat that's like, I'll send money to you, will you love me, type of thing. Like, I don't think he wants her to love him, but I think he does care about her. And I think, like, in general, cares about her well-being. I don't know if it's a romantic thing, but maybe. And that, I don't know. We'll see. He needs more characterization for that to matter. Again, Jean has gotten the most out of all the supporters so far. Second will probably be, I guess, Baraba and a little bit Kikara. Kyun's got nothing. So, hopefully they give him an arc before they inevitably murk him or kill him or get rid of him or something. But anyway, they're kind of going back and forth about the birthday and his personality and blah, blah, blah. And, we also see him get stopped by Neon's dad at one point. Neon's dad's going around getting stuff ready and things and getting some flowers. And he's like, "You're her supporter, right, Q?" And he's like, "Yeah." He's like, "Well, I'm glad to meet you." He's like, her mom would want her to be, arranged marriage to somebody here in this time period, but I think it would make more sense for my business for her to be an arranged marriage with someone from the future, maybe someone like you. And it kind of leaves it lingering like that because he wants the contacts from the future so he can kind of cheat and know things ahead of time, right? Be able to make business deals, things like that. Because if you don't remember, the Kurama Foundation or the Kurama Group, whatever they are, his business pretty much is responsible for, as well as being a sponsor, he and his group are also responsible for kind of keeping the DGP under wraps so no one knows what it is, the government doesn't find out about it, blah, blah, blah. And he's just like kind of seeking and lurking around for more power, right? So Ace kind of gets the idea that maybe there's something going on funky with Neon. Tries to ask her about it. She's kind of evasive with it, whatever. Keiwa does do the first round of the Matador fight. He fights the Matador Jamato thing and is doing it decent, but he keeps getting sideswiped by the other shark-like, almost prehistoric monster, dinosaur, or whatever, other Jamato that got unearthed. And of course, the cameras are set up in a way where they don't see that. The cameras are set up in a way with the fight where they're seeing him get hit, but they're not showing what's hitting him. So it just looks like he's screwing up, right? So it's messing up his support and stuff like that. Baraba says that, I know a big secret about Neon, and so the next person to fight's going to be her, and I'm going to reveal a big secret, and it's going to throw her into the depths of despair, and blah, 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 blah. And everybody's confused, like, what the secret is. They don't really know what's going on. Even Neon isn't really paying full attention, but is still kind of, like, stuck on her birthday stuff and everything going on with herself emotionally. Well, Ace gets the bright idea to look into the footage from when she was kidnapped, right? Because there's news footage of it. And come to find out, there was somebody named Akari that was kidnapped at that time, and they didn't make it out. They were murdered. They did not make it out alive. And we get through flashbacks and reveals because he eventually goes to that same warehouse and finds her dad, Kurama's, Neon's dad there, and confronts him about it. We get through flashbacks and stuff. We find out Neon is a fully created by the goddess of desire person to basically replace his daughter. So his daughter was kidnapped as a way to extort money from him, whatever. But something somehow happened where they either didn't get the ransom to in time or whatever, and she was killed. Her name was Akari, and she died. And we see previously a flashback that showed Neon with her mom and this whole sequence having a birthday and a cake and whatever. But then we see it again how it really is with her not there. And the mom has just lost it, and she's talking to nothing, saying good happy birthday to nothing, completely caved in on herself emotionally, right? Completely shocked, traumatized. So he sought out the DGP because somehow he found out about it. We don't really get how. And he has a conversation with Niram, and Niram's like, so if you choose to be a supporter, if you really want to be a supporter, and he says yes, it's if you do get a wish, but you'll need to be a supporter, you'll even need to help us keep it secret, blah, 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 setting him up for what he is now. And he agrees to it, and he writes down his wish of wanting to have his, to live in a world with his ideal daughter. That created Neon, basically. So, that's why she's always felt awkward about her birthdays, because it was never really her birthday. She was brought into existence at the time of being 11, basically, and I'm somehow in some way given a bit of the memories of the other, Akari or whatever her name was. And it's essentially like a fake version, kinda. I mean, she's still clearly a real human as far as we can tell. But it's a pretty big revelation, and it's a nice extra layer of detail adding on to the whole thing of her being the subject of the wish that her dad put through to the desire goddess. And interesting there, too, that they don't have to compete in the DGP to get a wish. Very interesting there. Somehow they're able to do that for him to be a sponsor. Seems like they'd have some other leeway to have some other wishes happen to stop Baraba, but we're not going to get into that. But it's a pretty big revelation. I think it was really built up pretty well. It definitely shocks Geats a whole lot. And he's worried about what Baraba is going to reveal, and he's thinking it's going to be this. So he rushes to the scene. So she's there too, and as she tries to go in, he kind of pushes her out of the way, and he gets in the way, and he goes to fight the second round, even though it's not supposed to be meant for him. And Neon goes back to the one little meeting place, nebulous area where they talk with the supporters, and she sees a bunch of gifts and presents and stuff from her supporters. and it's her audience from the future, and they're like, oh, we love you, Neon-chan, you're so great, blah, 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 and they're all excited and whatever. Kyun even leaves her the boost buckle, whatever. And then Baraba puts out her message that was meant for Neon when she was supposed to be there fighting, showing that she, her whole thing, that she's not the real Neon, that, she's a fake and blah, blah, blah. And so the audience takes that awful, and they're like, you're fake, you're awful, how could you lie to us, blah, blah, blah. And they're all being awful, throwing all these insults at her, making her completely fall apart. That pisses Geats off. I don't think there's anything romantic with him and Neon. I think it's more like a brother-sister type, how dare you do this? Like, that was her secret to hold and her secret to tell if she felt like she wanted to. How could you do this? And we get an awesome scene. He's already in boost form. He goes straight into laser boost, and he fucking decimates the Jamato with such ease. It's such a cool scene. His eyes are glowing in the suit, and like the mask, like the visor little, things are glowing, and he's just being like super threatening and basically saying like, how could you fucking do this to her? This is not your thing to do. This is not your thing to reveal. How dare you? And wipes the floor with the Jamato. The last thing we see is him with a finishing attack on the Jamato before the episode ends. So overall, this was a really good episode. I think it was good that they're like moving up her in the storyline a little bit and doing more with her. I hope that they're also going to continue to do the same for Keiwa. I do think that they could have done differently with the pacing in terms of this a little earlier building up to now. And also they could have done that. I feel like they could have juggled Keiwa having more to do as well, because there's interesting things about his backstory, like the whole thing about he doesn't quite remember when his parents were killed. He doesn't remember exactly the circumstances of it. And we know his sister touched the one ID core thing, got a few memories of seeing that it happened during a round of DGP, but we don't know the exact circumstances. So I'm just hoping Keiwa also gets, I'm not trying to minimize what Neon's going through and minimize her character depth right now, but I'm hoping Keiwa also gets the same love and like story to him too, with Keikara and everything. Next week's episode just show her fighting alongside Kyun, but it also looks like possibly some like red flag or death flags for him as well, and I hope they don't already do that just because he hasn't had a lot of time to breathe and like be a character in the show. So I'm hoping they don't quite do that, and that it's just not really a fake out, but that he's maybe just like really badly injured and he's got to heal for a bit or something like that. But I am hoping that her and Keiwa, and even Mitsunaga to an extent, get their own laser forms along with whatever their upgrade buckle is. Even if it was just laser ninja or laser zombie and laser beats or something like that. I don't know. But I'm hoping that happens for them because I think they deserve it. If it works out for Geats, why would they not be able to have the same thing with a laser raise riser? But overall, I really enjoyed the episode. Thought it was a decent one. I think it could have been paced a little quicker, and I do think that that in earlier episodes, not to follow this episode, in earlier episodes they could have done a bit more to build up more definitely to this, Not that they didn't see it coming, that there's something of this nature going on, but still, I think there's a bit more they could have done here and there to kind of like sow those seeds just a tiny bit more. But overall, I do like it and what it might mean for her future and how she feels about, being human or not human and, being a creation of the Desire Goddess and all that. But some really badass fight scenes, some really good character interactions and dialogue and all that good stuff. Score-wise, probably somewhere around I'd say probably an 8.5 out of 10. Not as great as last week's, but not garbage by any means. Definitely want to see how it concludes next week with episode 30 already, and everything with Kyun, but definitely excited for it. But let me know in the comments below, what did you guys think of this week's episode of Geats? Neon's revelation about who she is, things connecting her to the DGP and everything else going on, the dinosaur Jamato, Ace and Keiwa's role and everything, just in general, the stakes that are set for next week. How do you guys feel about it? Let me know below in the comments. I'd love to see the conversations going here and there on certain videos. Thank you so much for subscribing, sharing, commenting, liking, all that really good stuff, watching my videos. It really means a lot to me. But until next time, stay hooked on heroes. I'll talk to you later. Bye-bye.